The next scene begins in the hospital room, where the system informs Kim about the failed quest and the end of its penalty. But our boy is more concerned about his little brother. He wakes the guy from his sleep. Poor kid looks like someone who's been terrified that Kim wouldn't wake up. Kim understands. He's the only family he has left. Kim starts by asking if he was crying. The little bro denies it and quickly decides to fetch a doctor. As he leaves, Kim checks his phone, unsure how long he was out. He realizes he still has time for the main shoot, along with a bunch of missed calls and 278 messages. To his surprise, the messages are from a group chat made by his group, which he had no idea even existed. Just as he's about to reply, Ju Woozing calls him. It's strange, this guy has never reached out first before. Still, Kim answers casually, telling him to get straight to the point. As usual, the guy is annoyed by Kim's laid-back attitude. Kim, being Kim, asks if he's gonna hang up, which leads Ju Woozing to finally get to the reason for the call. He suspects Kim knows about the leak incident, which Kim doesn't deny. When asked why he didn't stop it, Kim's response just makes him even more annoyed. Kim casually explains it was all part of a viral marketing strategy to gauge public reaction. Ju Woozing gets it, noting the song actually received a good response and is slowly building a fanbase. We also see he had the same conversation with Blue Tiger. Anyway, Kim thanks him for the call and the update. But suddenly, Ju Woozing apologizes. Our boy is puzzled, but before he can respond, Woozing calls him a con artist for tricking people. Kim casually confirms by telling him he saved his number as pushover, which deeply irritates him, and he starts cursing. Their conversation continues, with Ju Woozing admitting he was wrong and saying that Kim working so hard made him question what he was doing with his life. Of course, our boy teases him, saying if he were a priest, he should confess his sins, successfully pushing his buttons as always. Just then, the doctor arrives, so Kim ends the call, thinking he should at least change the guy's contact name. Honestly, I was expecting a female doctor. Anyway, his group storms into the room, making our boy super awkward, even trying to deny them. Next, we see a chat from his little brother advising him not to push himself. Kim acknowledges it, and reassures him that now he's discharged, he has to head to the studio for the main shoot. Just then, Jaewon starts showing concern, reminding him again not to overdo it. Kim reassures him not to worry. The rest of the group also chimes in with their concern, but Kim just wants them to focus on taking care of themselves. Time passes, and the group finally arrives at the company studio. While the group is mesmerized by the building, Kim thinks differently. He lets us know the place is totally rundown. Next, Director Jung approaches with a warm greeting, informing them about the shoot routine. As Kim approaches, the director somehow already knows him, of course, the handiwork of our Blue Tiger. Kim promises to do his best, reassuring the director with a smile. Soon, a staff member arrives with their outfits. The group is astonished by how good Kim looks. The outfit almost seems tailor-made for him. Jaewon, on the other hand, is filming behind the scenes at the request of their manager. For some reason, we still don't know his name. Anyway, they continue preparing for the shoot. Just then, Lee Chai decides to film a staff member, and Seongjin tries to stop him. When he refuses, the group is stunned hearing their comeback song. One of the staff compliments the song, making the younger members visibly happy. Even our boy feels the same, despite practicing the song countless times. Hearing it now, he gets emotional. The shoot begins with Jaewon. The director instructs him to be sentimental to match his role. But he's not quite hitting the mark. Seeing this, Young Dajuin teasingly reminds him of a chicken he bought in elementary school, flustering Jaewon. It actually works, so the director tells him to keep that thought in mind. And the result's spot on. Poor boy keeps muttering chicken during every shot, while Lee Chai watches curiously, trying to understand what's with the chicken. The group watches with dumbfounded expressions as the director keeps telling him to mutter chicken. Next up is their leader, Seongyun. Like Jaewon, his expression is off, so the director tells him to look a bit colder. Lee Chai steps in, playing the previous role of Young Dajuan, and asks Seongyun how a gentleman greets someone. Kim is taken aback. Are they doing a quiz now? When Seongyun doesn't respond, Lee Chai reveals the answer, instantly shifting the mood. Honestly, Seongyun looks like he could murder someone if they weren't on set. Meanwhile, the director loves it. He's thrilled and tells him to hold that expression. But Lee Chai isn't done cooking. With a mischievous smile, he drags Jaewon into it, asking him to reveal the next answer. Awkwardly, Jaewon shouts, "Going up," which only makes Seongyun's expression even colder. Director Young is having the time of his life while poor Jaewon feels like Seongyun's next victim. Now it's our boy's turn. For someone who's always behind the camera, he never imagined standing in front of one. Director Young tells him not to be nervous and to keep a cunning expression. Kim closes his eyes to focus. Now ready for the shot. The director gives him some minor adjustments. Kim is eager to see the results with the director. To everyone's surprise, he looks great. Even he is shocked. He starts complimenting himself, and the director gives him a playful pat on the back, saying Kim is a very likable person and asking him to keep that same energy for the short movie. With that, he announces a break. Meanwhile, Kim isn't too happy with the facility. The rundown agency keeps drinking water on the floor. Now let's shift to Young Dajuan and the guys. Kim watches them and is reminded of his little brother. But he thinks it's best not to get involved. After all, this is a game, and he's in a parallel dimension. Just then, Young Dajuan approaches him, concerned about Kim's health since he was just discharged not long ago. Kim playfully reassures him not to worry. But the younger one expresses his gratitude, saying everything's been going well thanks to Kim. He starts recounting how he was part of a terrible agency, and it was someone like Kim who helped him escape. Kim is surprised, and Young Dajuan continues, saying the person worked at a broadcast station, looked a lot like Kim, and get this, had the same personality. Kim is momentarily shocked. But their conversation is interrupted. As Young Dajuan walks away, Kim watches him leave, suspicious and deep in thought. Still, he decides to set the matter aside, for now. Let's shift to a random otaku coming back home, complaining about work. She's a bit exhausted and plans on spending the entire evening watching cat videos. However, while scrolling through her phone, she suddenly stops after seeing a post about the Dawn Idol group. She instantly recognizes them, obviously since their song got leaked, which turned out to be a viral marketing strategy. Regardless, she follows the link to watch their short film online. The film begins with Jaewon ending the lives of Lee Chai and Young Dajuan, or so it seems. Afterward, he apologizes, then ends his own life in the process. The girl is stunned by the brutal beginning, not understanding anything, just like us, and wonders why he took his own life. Now, she watches with clear anticipation. The moment the comeback song begins, Jaewon slowly opens his eyes. He feels overwhelmed, realizing he's back. Staring at his reflection, he begins thinking about his next move. Meanwhile, we see a person in a dark room shuffling a deck of cards. Next, he starts revealing the cards. And in the next moment, he places one in his pocket, certain that the odds are in his favor. Just as the song continues, we see Young Dajuan and Seongyun seemingly running away or trying to escape. Meanwhile, Lee Chai takes aim with his rifle, targeting Young Dajuan, who's trying to flee. With the task done, he receives a signal. Just then, Jaewon arrives at the scene, which looks exactly like the beginning, and tries to take his life once more, only for the gun to be knocked away in the process. But it wasn't done by Lee Chai. Anyway, Jaewon tries reaching for his pistol again. Only this time, it's kicked even further from him. The guy is petrified, meeting our boy's cunning and cold demeanor present at the scene. After displaying a random scene, possibly time travel, which we'll understand eventually. Nonetheless, Kim finally reveals the card, now showing a cunning smile. As the 3.5-minute video comes to an end, the girl is still processing the video in silence. But in the next moment, she shows different emotions, writing a long comment. But more importantly, someone has already analyzed the video and provided a link in the comments. She's stunned after learning the entire concept of the short film. Let's shift to our boy group. Jaewon happily informs them about their real-time ranking and the growing views on the short film. Apparently, the two guys pulled an all-nighter, refreshing the platform's page to see the chart ratings. Thankfully, their song made it onto 2 streaming platforms. Even though they're at the 90th position, making it onto the ranking platforms is a huge win. But Kim needs it to be 3 platforms, all ranking at the top, to complete the system task. Right on cue, Seongyun calmly notes that their song has been added to another popular streaming platform. Lee Chai shares his thoughts. Normally the platform only considers the 24-hour accumulated rating. However, that was in the past. Recently, they changed it to calculating real-time ratings. Seongyun shows a surprised expression upon learning this. But our boy already knew that, even back when he was an editor. Causing the system to chime in, noticing how calm our boy was, as if he already knew everything. Of course, Kim planned everything and wasn't the least bit concerned about the 24-hour rating. Just then, Seongyun requests Kim to take a look at the movie analysis. Kim is a bit surprised that it was released so quickly. After reading a few lines, Kim turns to him with a curious expression, since the part was about him. But the guy stutters and suggests he keep reading. Anyway, here's the breakdown of the short film. We already know the setting follows a post-apocalyptic theme. The movie is basically a fight between the government and its officials, which includes our boy and Jaewon, and the resistance, which is the rest of the group. Here's the interesting part. Jaewon is a regressor, based on him ending his life to return. Now, we shift to our boy revealing the cards, and he stops at the Joker, which turns out to be the key. In other words, Yoon Da-juan. However, Kim already knew this, but didn't pay attention until he revealed the last card, with a cunning smirk. To understand that, let's shift to Seongyun and Yoon Da-juan's failed escape. Jaewon, seeing this, tries to trigger another regression, since things are going south. The reason is tied to the fact that the guy was part of the resistance but was secretly working for the government. And now, we see Lee Chai taking out both his allies. Apparently, the guy was a spy planted in the resistance, and was actually the one who ended Jaewon before his regression. But this time, he received a signal from our boy. The acknowledgement, revealing the king card to Jaewon. In the end, Kim knew everything from the start, ultimately preventing another regression and stopping the resistance. Kim is deeply impressed by how detailed the analysis was and the effort put in. Meanwhile, Seongyun timidly informs him that it was written by a fan, leaving our boy in shock. Just then, Yoon Da-juan informs them to get ready, noticing cameras outside, also telling Kim to stay focused. But our boy isn't concerned, clearly underestimating their performance, and not expecting a huge crowd. However, in the next moment, he's utterly bewildered witnessing the size of the crowd. Even the boys are stunned for a moment. Seongyun is quick to react, suggesting they begin greeting the fans. However, one girl shows great interest and enthusiastic behavior toward our boy, and we can see his shocked expression. The girl even nods in affirmation, holding up a sign with his name. Our boy feels a bit flustered, but Seongyun sees this and reassures him, suggesting he at least say hello. Meanwhile, the group teases our boy for being so timid. Normally, Kim is unfazed, but it makes sense, since he's someone who used to live behind the camera. In the next scene, during his time as an editor, we hear Kim complaining about a proposal. His junior apologizes as Kim continues to scold her for her incompetence. As someone who values results, he demands that the task be completed by the next day. At the same time, he hears people whispering about his attitude toward his junior, saying that acting serious doesn't necessarily mean someone is skilled. Well, comments like that were expected in his line of work. Saying bad things about him had become a noble deed. Eventually, he got used to it. However, in the present, he's still not used to people showing him genuine kindness. The scene changes. Our boy is getting ready for his comeback debut. The lady helping him notes that he looks great, everything he wears suits him. He thanks her, feeling a bit strange inside. Next, his phone vibrates with a message. His playful little brother wishes him luck, Blue Tiger expresses concern about his performance and her song, and Ju Woozing is a bit worried about his reputation. Kim smiles seeing them express concern. Now turning his attention to his group. He can tell they're a bit anxious, praying for a successful comeback. This makes him ask about Jaewon. Song Hyun immediately informs him. Meanwhile, our boy already understands what Jaewon must be feeling, so he decides to go get him himself. While walking through the hallway, he hides beside a vending machine, quickly calling on his system item shop. You see, Jaewon is the most talented in their group. And if he stays nervous, it'll seriously affect their performance. With that in mind, he purchases a medicine pill from the system shop for 300 points. Also grabbing water from the vending machine, he now wonders where Jaewon could be. Jaewon is clearly doing his best to keep it together. Just then, Kim approaches casually, asking what he's doing. Jaewon is slightly surprised to see him. Then he apologizes, admitting he's a bit nervous and didn't want to affect the group's morale. Meanwhile, the helpful system informs us that the poor guy is exhausted from being a trainee and needs our boy to leave a strong impression. Just like that, his next task is generated: help Jaewon and complete the performance safely. However, Kim glares at the system, almost cursing it over the reward. He turns to Jaewon and instructs him to take the pill since it's obvious he's nervous. But Jaewon tries to reject it, despite Kim's persuasive salesman-like efforts. Before he can argue more, Kim casually tosses the pill into his mouth, making Jaewon swallow it instantly. Jaewon complains, but our boy jokes that he's like a little brother who eats anything thrown at him. This makes Jaewon start imagining things, wondering if he really seems like a dog. In no time, he's shocked. The system informs Kim that Jaewon's nervousness has subsided. Jaewon thanks him, but asks if Kim himself ever gets nervous. It's not like he doesn't. After all, he's human, not a machine. But he's just good at hiding it. Now serious, he asks why Jaewon was so nervous in the first place. Seeing his expression makes Jaewon a bit anxious. After a moment, he opens up, saying he's missed countless opportunities as a trainee, and some ended badly. It's not that he isn't happy about their progress. He's just scared their luck will run out, and that this might be his last chance to showcase his talent and finally debut. Kim quietly reflects. You see, when someone takes a step forward after working so hard, they might still fall behind. That's the core of Jaewon's fear. He's scared to move forward, afraid he might lose this opportunity too. Seeing Kim's sudden expression, Jaewon apologizes for saying something so unreasonable, thinking Kim probably never experienced failure. But Kim tells him otherwise. He's had times that weren't smooth sailing, and that makes Jaewon curious. Just then, his eyes widen in disbelief. Kim shows him the scar he got in the accident that took his parents. He calmly recounts everything, from being told he might never use his arm again, to the painful rehab process. And this is the first time he's ever told anyone something only his little brother knew. In other words, he knows exactly what it feels like to work hard and still see no results. Even though it seems unfair, at the very least, everyone is given a chance. And only those who are mentally prepared can seize it. Reflecting, he asks Jaewon if he's truly prepared. Jaewon nods slightly. Once again, Kim reassures him, saying there's no point in whining. Before they leave, Jaewon cheerfully expresses his gratitude, and the system informs Kim that their relationship has become friendly. Meanwhile, our boy seems a bit regretful, wishing their conversation had been recorded. Jaewon lets out a chuckle. Anyway, they finally reunite with the group, and Lee Chai notes they were late. Since they're all together, Song Hyun suggests doing some kind of cheer before heading out. But since they don't have one, they decide to just raise their hands. With that, they place their hands together. Song Hyun gives a short speech, appreciating their hard work over the past month, and hopes they can keep up the same energy for the next one. Lee Chai immediately says how lame the speech was, which slightly infuriates him. Next, each of them follows up with whatever comes to mind. Of course, Lee Chai doesn't miss the chance to tease young Dajuan for using the word challenge, which he says is something only kids use. Dajuan tries to defend himself, to the point he's almost left behind the group. The moment they leave the backstage area, Jaewon calls out to our boy and cheerfully whispers, "Fighting!" Our boy replies with a smile. But deep inside, he wonders, who was the guy really talking to? Suddenly, the lights went out. The announcer began calling their names individually. Finally, the stage lit up, introducing them as the Dawn and the title of their performance. With that, each of them took their starting positions, and Jaewon takes the lead, followed by our boy, causing the girl fans to be flustered like they just spotted their crush. Their performance continues, and now it's the redheads' time to shine, doing the sick acrobatics from their training, playfully firing a laser hand, and successfully capturing a girl's heart in the process. Next, it's our boy who steps forward, his time to solo. At the same time, we see Blue Tiger watching with anticipation, causing the crowd to cheer wildly. Suddenly, the stage lights dimmed, indicating the end of their performance. And just like that, it all ended with our boy singing the last part of the song, and the whole stage erupted with cheers like an earthquake. Finally, they concluded the performance by showing gratitude. Anyways, let's shift to the main story, with a reporter starting the interview by praising their performance. Now turning his attention to Kim, he suggests introducing him to the audience. However, he gets interrupted midway, and even gets a nickname. Kim feels his brain short-circuiting, wondering if he heard that right, leaving the reporter hanging. Regardless, the guy continues, noting that their group has been creating a huge stir thanks to our boy joining. Jaewon agrees, explaining Kim was always a member, but due to health issues, he missed their previous debut. This results in the reporter asking a strange question based on some rumors. This causes Kim to feel on edge, resurfacing unwanted memories. Actually, he has no idea what to say. However, Jaewon's answer brings huge relief, noting that our boy was great at bringing positive energy, even briefing the reporter on how he brought a song from Blue Tiger, which surprises him. Lee Chai also suddenly chimes in, adding to Jaewon's remark, noting he brought the song in just 3 days. Hearing this, the reporter thinks it's a bit exaggerated. Nonetheless, he proceeds, wanting to know more about his connection to Ju Woozing and Blue Tiger. Our boy answers, explaining he's grateful to have them. But this wasn't the response the guy wanted, even teasing Kim for sounding like someone thinking about lunch. The group also chimes in. Kim now wants to know why they're all focused on him. But he gets completely ignored as Songhyun cheekily explains how our boy was surprised to learn he had fans. As he continues explaining, the girls take this as an indication to scream our boy's name. Kim quickly adapts, shifting the conversation to Young Dajuan. And now the poor guy wonders why he got dragged in. However, just as the guy was about to continue the interview, he's interrupted with urgent news, making Kim a bit suspicious. At the same time, the crowd is already going wild, making Young Dajuan question things. Seeing the girls on their phones and continuously yelling congratulations, the group exchanges confused glares. Seeing this, the reporter happily shares the good news. Their song Second Chance is now streaming in the top 3 major platforms. And it's placed in the top hundreds. Lee Chai and Songhyun are in utter disbelief, realizing they've charted. Meanwhile, someone keeps reassuring another not to cry. Kim wonders who they're talking about, only to discover Jaewon and the youngest getting emotional. Young Dajuan expresses gratitude. Well, it's all thanks to our boy. Kim acknowledges this but wants him to stop fussing, because he wants him to save those tears until they hit number 1 on the charts. While their leader suggests thanking the audience one last time. With that, they take their final bow. Jaewon, however, wants to express more gratitude. But the guy points at his wristwatch, indicating time's up. With that, Kim takes the initiative to wrap things up, thanking their fans for the great support. And with a radiant smile, he looks forward to their next showcase. Leaving the fans with great anticipation, they all headed backstage. Once again, Jaewon calls out to our boy, which catches his attention. Honestly, how much longer is he going to express his gratitude? Nonetheless, let's shift to the system's reaction. Even though the comeback debut was a success, Kim still has a long way to go, which the system is confident he can achieve with improvement. However, Kim isn't interested in praise. He only wants his rewards for completing the task. This causes the system to pout before offering the rewards, which increase his singing, charisma, and dance stats. However, Kim just wants the system to stop acting and dragging things out. With that, a new display appears. Apparently, the system prepared a gift for him. After completing the first stage of the game, he is now able to view other people's stats. It also advises him to work harder. Kim didn't like that something like this was kept from him, while the cheeky system comments that it was trying to avoid spoilers. However, before he could argue, the manager arrived, relieved to have found him. He informs Kim that the chairman wants to see him. It's not surprising, since news travels fast. Time passes, and his manager assures him not to worry. There's no bad news. The guy is happy and certain the group will start getting proper attention. Kim, on the other hand, concludes the guy is somehow naive. Let's shift to the chairman's office. The old man is on a call. Seeing our boy arrive, his demeanor instantly brightens. Both Kim and his manager are at a loss for words, seeing this rare side of the chairman, and for good reason. This makes the poor guy somewhat anxious. Anyway, the old man begins the conversation by asking about Kim's well-being. Kim, being himself, thanks him and his manager for their support, leading the old man to laugh and note that he's still the same. Then he shifts the topic to the charts, which our boy chalks up to luck. To the chairman, it seems like they're on a lucky streak, but the best part of everything was our boy. Hearing this, Kim presses, asking if something great happened. The manager still finds it strange, seeing the chairman continuously laughing. Regardless, he adjusts his tone. Normally, he'd announce it to the group, but he explains he has 2 pieces of great news. Hearing this, Kim guesses one is related to movie casting. To his surprise, the old man adjusts his composure and firmly states that their group apartment has been settled. Apparently, he's a bit worried about Young Dajuan, since he's still a minor and comes from far away. Kim could only curse this man inwardly because he didn't care until recently. But thinking about it, better late than never. Regardless, he drops a second bomb. They'll be doing behind-the-scenes filming, causing Kim to be dumbstruck. Clearly, this ruins his expectations about casting. Nonetheless, he decides to take responsibility for informing the group and wants to leave. But the chairman isn't done. He suggests Kim shouldn't be in a rush. Excited, he drops another bombshell. Apparently, someone on the phone offered them a spot on a variety show. The manager's jaw drops, with his mouth spilling water like a fountain. Still in disbelief, Kim helps the guy up while also asking for more details about the offer. Well, the offer turns out to be one of his previous projects called The Shining Star. However, this time there's a change. Previously, it was meant to differentiate between trainees and debut idols, but now it's a competition between idol groups. He briefly informs them that the producer is stepping down and they're looking for a replacement. But the manager shows some concern. The old man dismisses the concern, saying the network doesn't have a bad reputation, so there's nothing to worry about. Still, the manager anxiously reports about the devilish editor, who is our boy. He explains how they make smaller idol groups seem insignificant while boosting big entertainment companies. Not to mention how our boy can manipulate clips to destroy trainees' images. The manager fears the Dawn group might be disbanded. The chairman remains indifferent. The manager's words just seem to enter one ear and pass through the other, leaving him in shock. However, he wants to hear our boy's opinion. To our boy, this is a huge opportunity. So he happily accepts the offer and even looks forward to it. He's even ready to take full responsibility for convincing the boys. Both the chairman and manager are taken aback by his statement. Hearing this, the old man decides to pass the project planning to him, making sure his group reviews the content carefully. This causes our boy to crack a smile. Well, to Kim, it's best to seize every opportunity to complete the game. Let's shift to our boy's little brother playfully imitating him. The boy continues despite Kim's angry glares. This causes him to be instantly silenced by Kim. He ends up complaining, asking if this is how Kim treats his only family. Kim ignores him, instructing him to eat healthy and avoid too much delivery, while his brother pouts at his nagging. To defuse the tension, Seo Ha-jin notes that his brother is now a celebrity. Even his classmate used Kim as his profile picture. Kim, on the other hand, doesn't respond. Anyway, he leaves, warning him not to tell anyone that they're siblings, which the boy playfully agrees to. In truth, Kim is worried. Since his face is becoming known, his brother will undeniably be affected. He informs us that when he was an editor, he faced trouble, and things might be worse now that he's an idol. Nonetheless, his brother wishes him well, and Kim acknowledges it. However, in the next moment, Seo Ha-jin starts role-playing him, making Kim ponder the best way to shut him up. With that, he decides to tease him, not to cry when he's gone. But when he mentions not playing with the pillowcase while he's gone, it makes Seo Ha-jin awkward. This shifts his mood instantly, making our boy tease him even more. Clearly making fun of him, while the poor guy can only express his anger in silence. Next, we see an online forum, the topic of discussion being our boy's idol group. Kim scrolls through different threads, impressed by fans' comments and reactions. Apparently, picking the otaku fanbase was a great strategy. However, his thoughts are interrupted when he hears their debut song, which makes him feel great. On his way, he's surprised to see a fan. Let's shift to the fan, visibly surprised. On the other hand, Lee Chai has already seized the opportunity to make an impression. Meanwhile, Kim watches, feeling awkward and slightly irritated by the display, clearly expressing his intent not to mingle. Sensing the tension, Lee Chai quickly apologizes, then immediately warns the guy to move aside and stop taking pictures, which only annoys Kim even more. This results in Kim smashing both of them. Song-hyun, watching the scene, doesn't want to get involved, believing they somewhat deserved it. Next, we see the group looking all radiant. Apparently, they've arrived at their apartment and are about to exit the elevator, only to be stunned by their dorm. It seems like their company really went all out. Amidst all the excitement, Kim remains calm, realizing it's a 2-bedroom apartment with a living room. He also spots hidden cameras. One in a bear, one on the television, and finally, on the sofa. While the group remains oblivious and excited, Kim, seeing them act like kids, asks why they're so excited. This causes Song-hyun to be shocked. Reflecting, Kim concludes that these guys are just petty-minded. Soon, staff from the planning team arrive, informing them about the camera filming routine and encouraging them to make themselves at home. Since there are only 2 rooms, they decide to pick their roommates. And to make it fair, they play a simple game, only for our boy to lose. Now he realizes he's going to be paired with the troublemaker. With that, the room selection is completed. Just then, they're informed that behind-the-scenes filming will take place, which includes filming their reactions and checking what's in their bags. Curious, Kim wonders why they even need to know what's in their bags. Shortly after, filming begins. Lee Chai can't help but tease Jaewon for having half his suitcase filled with herbs. Jaewon casually admits it was his grandma's doing, meant for everyone to enjoy. The guys are moved by her gesture, believing she's a saint. But the truth is, the lady is actually mean to her own grandson. Meanwhile, Kim is already chomping down on one of the herbs, nostalgic about the old days. Young Dajuan happily steps up to go next. Surprisingly, the little one packed only snacks, nothing else. This completely kills the vibe and makes the mood awkward. The red-haired guy is itching to show his bag, like it's a competition. Just like Young Dajuan, only this time it's filled with gaming consoles and a PlayStation 5. Song-hyun insists on handling the suitcase like Young Dajuan, tossing everything away. Ignoring him, the next person is our boy. The guys are stunned to see what he packed. Kim is dazzled as they start talking about him. Apparently, he's taken the men in black look to the next level. Still, he tries defending himself, insisting black is a great color. Finally, it's time for their leader. To everyone's astonishment, Song-hyun actually brought clothes for all of them, even paying attention to their specific needs. He even provided supplements for Kim. When Kim questions why, he reminds him about his weak body, specifically when he fainted, and tells him to take better care of himself. Our boy could only blame the system. In the next scene, they watch their music video. Young Dajuan looks stunned by Jaewon's performance, prompting him to comment on Lee Chai's surprisingly good acting. Bragging a bit, Lee Chai remarks that he's been offered acting roles, but he rejected all of them. Hearing this only makes poor Jaewon envy him more. Next, it's time to see the behind-the-scenes documentary. Meanwhile, our boy's lips curl into a smile, noting that they edited the video just like he suggested. The video highlights interesting moments before the group's debut. With that, the production team wraps things up, and the group thanks them for their hard work. Before leaving, the staff informs them about their music show scheduled for the next day. Meanwhile, our boy approaches Jihyun, personally thanking her, saying she contributed a lot. She tries to downplay it, adding that it was a group effort. Hearing this, Kim offers her full control to plan their next project, since the music show is really important. He wants to lay the groundwork in advance. Disbelief spreads across her face as she asks if she can use anything and everything she wants. Kim simply nods and says yes, then quickly leaves her to rant and dive into planning. Time passes, and Lee Chai suggests they go out for fried pork belly. Young Dajuan is all for it. However, Jaewon ruins the mood by suggesting they start practicing instead. Meanwhile, our boy is deep in thought, deciding to use a skill he got as a reward after completing the first stage. Curious, he checks Jaewon's stats. Kim knows the guy is talented, but he's puzzled by how low the singing rank is. Suddenly, Kim blurts out that Jaewon is destined to be an idol. Jaewon is stunned at first, but quickly collects himself and humbly brushes it off. Just then, Kim asks if all the cameras are off. Jaewon confirms, seeing this as the perfect time. Kim firmly suggests they all gather together. The moment the guy settled, Kim dropped the bombshell about the reality show. Still in disbelief, they asked if he was lying, leading him to ask if they didn't trust him. Then he continued explaining, the show was a competition between idol groups. Song Hyun processed this and understood that rushing in headfirst could be disadvantageous. Kim acknowledged this, noting that some groups eventually got a bad reputation, and even worse, ended up disbanding. So in short, it was a problem that needed to be decided carefully, while the redhead believed it was the best way to become a hot topic. Meanwhile, Jaewon pondered briefly. After successfully coming up with nothing, he asked for Kim's suggestion. Kim wondered if he really had to spell out the most basic thing. Normally, they always faced criticism. In addition, they were in no position to be picky. If they didn't want to become nobodies, they needed to gain recognition fast. Just then, Lee Chai indicated he was down with the idea. Jaewon also chimed in. With that, they all arrived at the same conclusion. Now Kim shifted to the main topic. They must follow 3 important rules during the competition. The first rule, never trust anyone at the broadcast station. He elaborated, saying they were like snakes in human skin. Lee Chai cheekily remarked that our boy was referring to himself. Ignoring the fool, Kim continued instructing them to pass any notes they received to their manager, and the notes must remain unopened. When asked why, Kim's expression changed. He said they could only open notes and letters from fans. Suddenly, Lee Chai chimed in again, remarking that he gets points since he has some experience in the entertainment industry. For some reason, our boy agreed that they should follow his lead. To our surprise, his advice came from his imaginary friend, which he views as a hamster. Regardless, still on the topic, Song Hyun noted that none of them were in a relationship. And since they got the message, Kim proceeded with the second rule. He seriously warned them to watch their mouths, whether the cameras were rolling or not. Especially behind the scenes, reminding them of that one idol whose footage got leaked, and was roasted by both his agency and fans. Finally, the main point. Kim assured them, no matter what happens, they should trust him. The scene transitions to the next day. At the event, Kim tried to make a good impression with the fellow idol group. The group wished them the best. But Kim understood it as a subtle way to ridicule them while pretending to encourage. The next group, arrived. A girl greeted them politely, while Song Hyun formally introduced himself. The girl, on the other hand, recognized them as the rookies who had recently debuted. Yes, this girl is dangerous, encouraging him to work hard while passing him her number. At the same time, another girl approached, making a flirtatious gesture to our boy, as if telling him to call her. Meanwhile, someone took note of this. As instructed, they handed the note over to their manager. Song Hyun concluded this was a result of their recent success, but the manager didn't think so. Just then, Kim felt someone staring at him, adding that the guy had been doing it for a while, and he had no clue who the bastard was. Anyway, since their turn was in 3 hours, they decided to practice. At the same time, the system informed Kim of his current mission. He had to complete the music program, and the rewards included increases in charisma, dance skills, and singing. Kim was a bit surprised by the main mission, also wondering why the system wasn't as chatty as before. Just then, his thoughts were interrupted by Jaewon suggesting they start quickly. Kim mentally prayed that everyone would stay out of trouble. The scene skipped to them completing their performance. Our boy's increase in charisma was evident, as girls screamed for his attention. To our surprise, Kim asked if they had eaten. However, food wasn't relevant when they were standing in front of their idol. Kim chuckled inwardly, advising them to take care of themselves and live healthy lives. Meanwhile, the guys were dumbstruck, sharing the same thought: was our boy possessed? The scene shifted to after their performance. The group discussed Kim. Suddenly, the guy from before specifically called for Jaewon. He seemed to have a history with him, as he addressed Jaewon as his junior and asked why he didn't come to greet him. Jaewon greeted Yoo-hyuk politely, while he tried brushing off his earlier comment. Our boy already realized it was the bastard from earlier. He noted that Yoo-hyuk's group became quite popular after the third year of their debut. Thinking, Kim concluded that Yoo-hyuk was from the Daegu agency, which Jaewon previously belonged to. Anyway, the guy tried to catch up, or so it seemed. Yoo-hyuk remarked that during that time, Jaewon had felt bad due to his failed debut, and was a bit worried that he'd steal his spot. Judging from Jaewon's tense expression, Kim could tell the guy was trying to pick on him. A bit provocatively, Yoo-hyuk said he was grateful things worked out for Jaewon, even if it was late. However, his last statement about their set ending made our boy's expression darken. Now turning his attention to his group, he requested that they work hard together. He also suggested they move quickly to avoid creating bad rumors. Kim believed all this was happening because some girl dissed the guy and gave them attention. Suddenly, a note dropped. Our boy, one to take responsibility, advised Song-hyun not to pick it up, shocking the guy in the process. Now the guy was utterly confused by our boy's action. Kim's famed realization: Song-hyun didn't want it, successfully capturing the fool's attention. A bit panicked, Yoo-hyuk asked about it, while our boy apologized for interrupting him. Adopting the demeanor of a jerk, Kim throws a tantrum using Yoo-hyuk's own words. This deeply enraged and irritated him. For some reason, Lee Chai is always quick to catch on during mischief. Now Yoo-hyuk was intrigued, wanting to know more about our boy. Our boy cheerfully introduced himself, causing Yoo-hyuk to mutter his name with interest. Approaching Kim, he notes that their company isn't managing them well. He quickly grabs the note from Kim, opening it with anticipation, determined to report it. He's shocked by the contents. Apparently, it's just a receipt. Kim happily confirms this, making a fool out of him. Jaewon just stands there, utterly bewildered. Lee Chai, on the other hand, is almost dying from laughter while Kim continues playing the role of a clueless newbie, to repeating his previous statement. Now he's complaining about the company forcing them to eat vegetables for the show, also dragging their leader into the mix. He even offers to recommend the eatery since the salad was great. Young Dajuin chimes in too, noting that Yoo-hyuk had no reason to take the receipt. The guy can only curse under his breath through gritted teeth. Before anything else happens, they're interrupted. Ju Woozing approaches them, wondering why they didn't come to see him. Kim, still acting, explains they couldn't find him, while the guy silently wishes Kim would just go back to being himself. Yoo-hyuk just watches them chat, completely ignored. In truth, Ju Woozing sensed the tension and came to defuse the situation. Pretty sharp of him. Suddenly, Yoo-hyuk introduces himself. It turns out Ju Woozing volunteered to be a special MC for the show. Kim is shocked when the guy intentionally mocks him, mistaking his name for a math problem. Yoo-hyuk corrects him, but Woozing stays indifferent, apologizing for not being good with unfamiliar faces. Then, he turns to our boy, requesting a private talk in his waiting room since he hasn't been able to reach him recently. Kim freezes in sudden realization and apologizes, while Ju Woozing just repeats his request to come see him. Meanwhile, Kim thinks the guy's acting skills have seriously improved. Regardless, he plays the fool one last time before leaving, throwing in some sarcastic remarks. Let's shift to Kim meeting Ju Woozing. Kim can't help but wonder why his waiting room is so spacious when he's the only one using it. Woozing laughs, flexing his position, making our boy realize this guy really is a top idol in the country. Kim wonders if he could escape the game if he reached Woozing's level. With that, he decides to check his stats, and is shocked by how impressively high they are. Curiously, Ju Woozing asks if he has something on his face, but Kim just stares, wondering how long it'll take to reach his level. Regardless, Kim asks the reason he was called, and Woozing explains, it's a matter involving White Cherry, something he couldn't talk about outside. He admits he's known as a notorious scoundrel because he dumped her. Apparently, White Cherry is part of an idol group, and he recounts the entire incident. Kim comments sarcastically, saying surely most of the girls out there must be his exes. But Woozing, adopting a smug tone, defends himself. He continues, saying that's not the only reason he called. He also knows they're part of the contest program, which catches Kim's interest. He admits he heard about it from someone, and mentions the idol groups that will be participating. Reflecting, Kim notes that the groups mentioned are 1 to 4 years older, meaning the competition will be fierce. His thoughts are confirmed as Ju Woozing points out that Kim shouldn't expect to win. He even mentions the winner's already been picked. The whole thing is just a show. Now it all makes sense. Even Yoo-hyuk seemed overly confident. It's obvious the winner will be him. Ju Woozing dismissively says this kind of thing is normal, and Kim shouldn't be disappointed. Our boy thanks him. Woozing is shocked to hear Kim thank him, but Kim ignores it and asks if it's okay to tell the others. Woozing doesn't see an issue. Their conversation continues with Kim asking for the PD's identity. Ju Woozing admits he doesn't know, prompting Kim to task him with finding out. However, aware of Kim's attitude, Woozing wonders if our boy is planning to use the person. Kim just acts innocent. With that out of the way, Kim curiously asks why Woozing is being so nice. The guy calls him a bastard for being suspicious of his kindness. Kim admits he was just teasing, insisting he owes him one. Woozing questions what someone nameless like Kim could possibly offer. Honestly, no one can ever tell what'll happen in the future. Let's shift to later that day, the first performance result. As expected, Yoo-hyuk's group wins. At the same time, another member of a different group wonders why, given how rotten their personalities are. They can only feel sorry for their fans, adding that no idol group would ever like them. Suddenly, our boy is jolted out of his thoughts. Lee Chai, seeing Kim's expression, wonders if it's because they lost the first round, or if it's something else. He expresses concern, but Kim brushes it off, admitting he has something else on his mind. Song Hyun suddenly chimes in, asking about his closed-door conversation with Ju Woozing, making our boy feel puzzled. Young Da-juan also shows concern, worried that Kim got scolded. Kim playfully asks if they're planning to go find Ju Woozing and deal him for his sake. Jaewon notes that at least they could try. After joking around, Song Hyun, still concerned, asks if something bad happened. Kim decides to tell them everything, explaining that the winner of the contest has already been decided. This causes Young Da-juan to explode in frustration, cursing the officials, but Jaewon calmly tells him to take a seat. Still, he wants to know which group was chosen. Kim tells them it's Yoo-hyuk's group. That was a bit unexpected. It's messed up that they were offered the chance, only to be used. Meanwhile, Song Hyun remains silent. Bro already suspects Kim is cooking. But Young Da-juan, clueless, wonders why Kim is so calm. Kim tells him to stop making a fuss. However, Kim's expression suddenly darkens as Young Da-juan asks if he's some kind of pushover. This makes him recoil, while Jaewon notes that our boy already has a plan, since he knows Kim isn't someone who gives up. Kim agrees, firmly declaring they'll take first place in the contest. But Jaewon is concerned, doubting how they can even influence the outcome. Our boy reminds him of the 3 rules he made earlier. He admits that a lot will happen in the future, but whatever does, they should always trust him. Honestly, if the group doesn't trust him, all his plans will fall apart. Like, did they hit their heads and forget the pineapple situation? Anyway, Kim goes as far as trying to convince the boys to trust him. Just then, he's reprimanded for saying such things. Song Hyun, no longer silent, asks what Kim is planning. Kim expresses that he'll do whatever it takes for them to succeed. Thinking to himself, he realizes the boys think they'll fail. He admits they might even hate him for some of the things he'll do. But even then, they should trust him. The little one finally makes his decision. He complains about not having the energy to deal with Kim, but agrees to follow through. Jaewon isn't concerned. After all, Kim has proven himself. Their leader agrees too. With that, the boys come to a conclusion: they'll trust our boy. And it's going to be fun to see who he messes with next. Kim takes it as a compliment. Then, the system generates the task. He must take first place in the contest. If he succeeds, he'll unlock a hidden talent. But if he fails, they'll lose the privilege of releasing their album for the next 3 years. The next chapter begins with the boys practicing. Jaewon, on the other hand, points out a few small mistakes and adjustments that need to be made. Our boy can't understand, wondering why the guy seems so different. Of course, our boy is the first to be completely drained, like someone who spent all day donating his proteins. When Young Daejun suggests taking a small break, Jaewon informs him they don't have time, pointing out that he needs more practice. Time passes. Apparently, Jaewon finally agrees to a short break, making the guys feel relieved. Tired, Lee Chai notes that Jaewon wasn't like this last year. He now understands why Jaewon was infamous, which makes our boy question him. We then see his past. Lee Chai explains that Jaewon was part of a large trainee group and had a huge fanbase. However, he failed to debut alongside the others due to the nature of the group. Lee Chai also remembers when he first joined their group, Jaewon made them practice like hell. Our boy already knows this but can't help but wonder why he didn't debut. He can't imagine someone as talented as Jaewon intentionally dropping out and missing his chance. Just then, Jaewon chimes in, noting he didn't debut because he hated the group members. But Lee Chai points out that his former group is now in first place, wondering if Jaewon doesn't have any regrets or hard feelings. But to Jaewon, it's better to be hungry than to die of suffocation. Kim knew something happened, and Jaewon only said that to end the conversation, still maintaining a calm and collected expression. Kim notes it's all an act, thinking the guy is great at pretending. Anyway, time passes, and Jaewon decides to resume training, but the little one refuses. However, he quickly adds that Jaewon's loyalty is more important than popularity. He thinks it's so admirable that Jaewon should include it in his bio, but our man shuts that idea down, saying he can't skip practice. If he can talk, he can work, making the poor guy beg for mercy. Just then, our boy's phone vibrates with a message. It seems Ju Woozing finally replied, while Lee Chai wonders if it was Blue Tiger. Next, he sighs in disappointment when it wasn't her. Seeing this, Kim has a sudden realization, wondering if the boy is crushing on her. On the other hand, Lee Chai notices Kim's intense gaze and asks what he's thinking. Kim, adopting the demeanor of a jerk, denies everything, insisting he wasn't thinking about anything. Meanwhile, Kim switches his attention to his phone while the guy keeps ranting about Blue Tiger. Something is definitely cooking. Anyway, we see the chat with Ju Woozing. Apparently, the guy is trying to get back at our boy for all the times he was used. Kim, seeing this, wonders if he'll spend the whole day grumbling. Regardless, the guy decides to spill. Meanwhile, our boy is lost in thought, thinking about the PD's identity. The next moment, he nearly chokes on his drink. Apparently, the person he had in mind was the least expected. The PD is famously known as a crazy person in the TV network. The lady, Hyung, is actually his ex-girlfriend. Now let's shift to this beauty, formally introducing herself to the boys as the one in charge of the contest program. Meanwhile, Kim lets us know that because of her looks, people usually think she's easy to deal with. The group, in turn, returns the greeting while she notes they're a bit early. However, her tone changes as she insists they come on time because of her schedule, wondering if their manager and team didn't understand that. This causes a staff member to panic and inform her that the camera is rolling, but it's not a problem since it can be edited. On the other side, the manager apologizes, noting it was a misunderstanding on his part. Meanwhile, our boy can only think she's the same as ever. Well, since they came in time, they get down to business. Realizing the boys are hardworking, and for good reason, Lady Hyung wasn't taking them seriously. But then she turns her attention to our boy. Kim remains calm, but he's scared out of his wits. He hopes she doesn't recognize him and tries to reassure himself. To his relief, she compliments him, noting he's quite handsome and looks even better on camera. Now, looking at the plan they presented, she assumes they're familiar with it, which they agree was good. However, she cheerfully calls it a waste paper. Man, talk about being direct. A staff tries to remind her that she's speaking in front of rookies and suggests she treat them well, but she doesn't care. Almost turning to an agreement, highlighting how people at the top keep meddling with trainees. Kim just sighs, watching the heated exchange. With that, he takes the initiative before she leaves, pointing out the meeting was supposed to be her briefing them about the recording and their mission. Telling her straight up, they didn't come here to hear nagging and complaints. This causes her to pause momentarily. Then her attitude does a complete 180 before she agrees. Seems like we now know how our boy managed to tame her. He explains that Lady Hyung can be a handful, but at least she has some rationality. Now composed, she briefly explains the plan, a 2-minute performance. And the recording schedule is tight due to changes in the production staff. The boys are stunned to learn that the first recording is in just 3 days. Next, she instructs the staff to bring out a lottery box. With the box placed, she politely asks who will go first. Song-hyun volunteers. So, she explains the rules. One person from each group will pick a song and compete. Since she wanted the songs to be unique, she deliberately included some girl group tracks. Song-hyun asks what songs are in the box, and she informs him, there are 5 songs and 5 groups. With this in mind, she asks if he's ready. He agrees, though a bit anxious. Anyway, after the meeting, the manager is a bit nervous, not knowing where the boys are. With that, he heads off to look for them while Kim explains the reason behind their strange behavior. Apparently, they picked the most difficult song to perform, so it's normal for everyone to feel discouraged. So he decides to search for the boys, hoping they didn't go far. Accidentally, he finds himself in a place he used to go to during his previous life. He would usually visit this part of the building when he was burned out. However, he quickly decides to leave, knowing something bad might happen. And to our surprise, it's his ex-girlfriend, surprised to see him. Well, making him question his life choices. Lady Hyung starts the conversation by asking if our boy smokes, which he denies. Curiously, she then asks why he came to the smoking area. Kim explains he was waiting for someone. He thinks to himself that she appeared at the exact moment he was thinking about her. Now, he's trying to figure out a way out of the conversation. Meanwhile, he notices Lady Hyung staring at him intently. Once again, she cheerfully notes how handsome he is, saying that compared to other idols, his looks could captivate people. Concluding that Kim is definitely her type now, while he casually thanking her. Definitely showing green flags. He also finds it ridiculous, considering she was the one who insisted they break up, and now suddenly he's her type. Seeing him a bit tense, she apologizes, blaming it on her habit of evaluating people, which can often come off as offensive. Kim inwardly knows this is just her way of complimenting people. So he doesn't really mind her praising his looks. Shifting the conversation, she mentions how idols are usually afraid of criticism and end up dull, but Kim is different, and that's refreshing. Kim believes it's because of her scary nature, which makes her chuckle. She then apologizes for her earlier actions, for not paying attention to their group and for informing them late about the changes. But Kim just tells her it's enough and advises her not to worry about it. Still, she insists, saying she's sorry for the cold treatment, noting that her life hasn't been easy. Kim lets us that she became a successful PD with her talents and lacks nothing. But now, Kim can see that she's exhausted. He starts thinking about what he should say to her. After all, he's meeting her as Seo Hajin, a rookie idol, and this is their first meeting. But the next moment, she starts talking about treating him better, and even plans to call him personally. Wow, she's really leaving hints. Just then, our boy cuts her off mid-sentence and hands her something. She's surprised to see a bunch of sweets in her hand. Kim explains that this was Lee Chae's way of helping him quit smoking. He uses the moment to riz a little, suggesting that she now owes him a favor. Lady Hyung is utterly bewildered, giving him a puzzled look. Kim stated that she once made a bet with him to quit smoking before he did. This time, he plans to help her, before his thoughts are interrupted by the system. With that, he lays his head down, quietly wishing she stays healthy and lives well. Then, he dashes off, embarrassed and roasting the system for showing up at such a crucial moment. Regardless, it felt nice seeing her again. He doesn't want her to be sorry, because they're going to win. The scene shifts to the boys watching the song they have to perform. Their manager, arms crossed, complains about the song they drew, while Jaewon reassures him that they're already familiar with it. It's all thanks to Ju Woozing giving them suggestions. Still, Song Hyun notes that the song isn't bad, but that doesn't mean it's impactful. They wonder if the song was popular, but Jaewon points out it wasn't on the charts, and wasn't well known at the time. We learn the girl group who performed the original song has been around for 7 years, only rising to fame after 4 long years of being nameless. One of their songs eventually became a hit across various platforms. Even though they're now a top group, the song the boys have to perform failed miserably back then. Time passes as they discuss concepts. Lee Chae notes the song is about love confessions. So he wonders if a cheerleader outfit might work. But Young Dajuin wants to share his thoughts and looks anxious. Apparently, his idea for the concept is Peter Pan, and Jaewon thinks it suits the song. Obviously, the guy is scared he'll get teased to death by Lee Chae, who suggests he could be the fairy. Young Dajuin then mutters that they should forget it. Wait, was he planning to be Tinkerbell? Anyway, the discussion continues. Though Young Dajuin fits the concept, something still feels missing. As they keep talking about it, our boy joins in and asks what the issue is. Jaewon shares his thoughts, explaining that the problem isn't Peter Pan, it's their original concept. They need to establish who they are. As expected, our boy is clearly impressed. Kim explains their group needs a strong identity, but how do they express that through their performance? Meanwhile, Young Dajuin gives up on the idea. Poor guy doesn't want to overwork his 2 brain cells, despite being in college. Kim's expression suddenly darkens when Young Dajuin starts talking about quitting school. This causes Dajuin to shrink at his words. He quickly changes the subject, playfully rolling around and claiming it was just practice. Lee Chae then begins teasing Dajuin, saying he is better than a vacuum cleaner. Just then, Jaewon picks up his phone, realizing an unknown number is calling. When he hears his name mentioned by the caller, his expression changes. Lee Chae wonders what's going on with Jaewon's serious face. The manager also grows anxious. Jaewon puts the call on speaker. The person on the other side is surprised he changed his number and asks about the concept meeting. Kim suspects the guy might be an idol, more specifically Yoo-hyuk. When he asks about the song they drew, Jaewon tells him it's Want You by the girl idol group Like Girls. Meanwhile, Kim realized the fool is just calling to tease him. Kim is surprised to learn the guy doesn't even know the song, which he finds amusing. He wishes the conversation could be recorded to use against the guy later. But Lee Chai is already on it. Honestly, this guy is always sharp when it comes to making trouble. Meanwhile, the guy on the other end continues ranting about how troublesome the situation is, saying they don't have time to prepare. At the same time, Jaiwon gets tired of the whining and says no one asked for his opinion. He throws a little tantrum, telling him to practice and stop wasting time complaining, before ending the call. At first, they all try to hold it in, but then burst out laughing, surprised to see this side of Jaiwon. Kim notes there's no need for the recording anymore. Still, he doesn't understand why they're all laughing. Apparently, Jaiwon's unexpected remark was hilarious. Lee Chai believes Jaiwon has caught Kim's syndrome. Even our boy can't hold back his laughter and asks why he's being dragged into it. Suddenly, an idea strikes. He realized something. The more unexpected something is, the more attention it grabs. Things that catch people off guard are powerful. With that insight, their performance and group identity issue might be solved. He gestures for a pen and paper. He starts scribbling, making the others curious. Once done, he thanks Jaiwon for the idea. Then he shares his plan with the group. They all agree. They decide to call her, or rather, Blue Tiger, who's surprised her adorable troublemaker is calling. She answers, and Kim tells her everything about the contest. But she stops him mid-sentence, asking what song they drew. After learning the title, she notes their idea is a bit rough, but says she can tweak the melody and song. Kim, being himself, chuckles at her response. Then, she's surprised once again. Kim is having the best time using his assets when needed.